Given y sub n minus 0.1 yn minus 1 minus x of n plus x of n minus 2 equals 0, plot the poles and zeros in the z domain. So the first thing we need to do is we convert all of our y sub n's and our x sub n's to the z domain. To do that, we will be given a formula sheet for that, but I'm going to walk you through it. So the first thing we do is I'm going to write my equation out, y sub n minus 0.1 y n minus 1 minus x n plus x n minus 2 equals 0. The first thing we need to do is realize h sub z is equal to y sub z all over x sub z. So that'll come in a row later. So the first thing we do is we convert all these into the z domain. So the first thing I'm going to do is this is going to be y sub z minus 0.1 y sub z, z to the power of negative 1, minus x sub z plus x sub z, z minus 2 equals 0. So all you need to realize is when you have y sub n, it's y sub z, z to the power of whatever the delay is. So the delay is, for this one, is 0. So I can put that y sub z, z to the power 0. It's just 1. I don't care about that. We're going to leave that alone. Same thing with the rest of them. Now, what I need to do is I need to put all my y sub z's on one side and my x sub z's on the other side. So to accomplish that, I'm just going to put all my x sub z's on the right and leave my y sub z's on the left side. So I'm going to get yz minus 0.1 yz z minus 1 equals x sub z plus x sub z, z to the power of negative 2. Now, I need to factor out a y sub z on the left and factor out an x sub z on the right. So I'm going to have y sub z times 1 minus 0.1 z to the power of negative 1, I guess I didn't write that there, equals x sub z, 1 plus z to the negative 2. This actually needs to be a negative value. If you see right here, I added the x sub z and I subtract the x sub z minus 2. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is I need to isolate. So I need to get y sub z over x sub z. To do that, I'm going to have y sub z. I'm going to divide both sides by x sub z. Then I have 1 minus z to the negative 2 all over 1 minus 0.1 z to the negative 1. Now these top values are your zeros, and your bottom are your poles. Okay, so how do I solve this? Well, for the first thing, for my zeros, I need to set the inside equal to 0. So I'm going to have 1 minus z to the negative 2 equals 0. Well, if you realize that 1 to the power of negative 2 and negative 1 to the power of negative 2 will give you 0. So I have my zeros equal plus or minus 1. Now for my poles, I have 1 minus 0.1 divided by z equals 0. Well, I need to make this value here 1, because 1 minus 1 equals 0. So the value there is my poles are 0.1. So that's how you approach this kind of problem. So you just write it out. Zeros are here and poles are here. So just walk you through step by step. First thing we do, I rewrite it. Then I put it in y sub z, x sub z form. Then I isolate my y sub z's on one side and my x sub z's on the other side. Then I factor out a y sub z, I factor out an x sub z. Then I divide both sides by x sub z. And then I divide both sides by this value here. Then I solve the top for when it's equal to 0, and I solve the bottom for when it's equal to 0. And that's how you find your zeros, and that is how you find your poles.